Hey folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Oh, back again. 1974. We got some underrated, we got some must-have picks. 5 of them. 5 albums that I think most of them you'll have heard of. There's some new ones, some ones that probably you haven't heard of, and maybe there might even be 1 or 2 that could be a little more underrated than it actually is. But again, this is all in the video. Stick around. But obviously, you know, when you're hanging with the danger, it is also important to consider safety. So please, buckle up. And we're back. So we're going to do 5 picks from 1974. 5 albums underrated in some quarters, maybe not underrated completely around the world, but definitely from where I'm sitting, not a lot of people talking about these albums. They should. 1974, obviously still in that absolute peak period for popular music. Soul and, of course, rock and roll, prog, pick a genre. We're in peak flavor right now, kids. So at any rate, let's move on to our first pick today. Of course, would be Van Morrison. It's Too Late to Stop Now from 1974. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, hey, Craig Danger, what is up with the live album? And yes, I know. The thing is this. In my opinion, almost every Van Morrison album from that period, basically from Astral Weeks up until Hard Nosed the Highway, and I think there might be one after that, those are all very rated. Everybody loves those albums. I mean, Weed & Fleece, maybe people are like, oh, I don't know about this Weed & Fleece. But you know what? It took me a while to even find out that this one even existed. And you know what? This is basically peak Van at a peak time. This is a performer who early on, maybe live performances wasn't necessarily his biggest focus. And from all accounts, and actually from listening to this record, there's a real sort of joy on this record for Van Morrison performing some of the songs from those early albums. I mean, you've got Into the Mystic on here, you got Cypress Avenue, a lot of those really kind of early classic, St. Dominic's Preview. What's interesting about this too is he went on the road for basically a good portion for a 3-month period in 1973. And this, of course, is recorded at the first couple of gigs. This album, of course, is recorded across 3 dates. 1 at LA's Troubadour, 1 in Santa Monica, and of course 1 in London at the Rainbow Club Theatre. At any rate, really, really good live album. In fact, like I say, this was probably, I had all of the, sort of early 70s period Van Morrison before I had this album. And this album is kind of a nice capper on the era. Some of these songs perhaps wouldn't even be played again. He does some great covers on here. Bring It On Home to Me, of course, the Sam Cooke classic. I Just Want to Make Love to You, which of course was made famous by not only Foghat, but also by Muddy Waters. And it's a really nice package, this one. Beautiful album, really great sort of super big fold out gatefold on this big dog. Like I say, there's a real joy to hearing this. You can tell why they did these things, recorded this kind of at the beginning of the tour. There really isn't that sort of fatigue. What's also interesting about this album is that it was recorded with a string section on stage as part of the the Caledonia Soul Orchestra, which at the time anyway was one of the rare albums that actually had a live string section. I mean, you could probably say Procol Harum Live with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Of course, that's a totally different kind of album. This is basically a live album. Also, what is also notable from this one is basically the fact that they didn't do any overdubs on this one. This is as pure as it gets. And there's a lot of really sort of great vibe and sort of feeling on this album that really basically was captured at the moment. And Van is kind of in peak form, let's be honest. I mean, obviously Van continues to play to this day, but this is, I think, a superb live document of the era. And again, one of those albums that people don't necessarily talk about very often. You talk about Astral Weeks all day, St. Dominic's Preview, and his street choir, etc., etc. But nobody really ever talks about this one, and I think they should. This is I would call this an excellent live album for hardcore completists. Apparently in 2016 they actually did release a full-on box set, which was 4 volumes, basically additional tracks, re-recordings of tracks, etc., etc. So you get kind of a monster sort of view of it. Plus, I think there's a DVD involved. But again, if you're just looking for this album, it is out there. I got this for about 15 bones, but I would say you'd probably have to pay up to 30 for an original pressing. But again, like I say, look at this. This is the fold-out gatefold of pleasure up in here. Whoa! That's right, friends. I mean, just an excellent package. So yeah, of course, this is It's Too Late to Stop Now from 1974. Van Morrison, live album, a double album, and that would be my first pick for an underrated and also, I would say, must-have album from 1974. And I just wanted to again thank everybody for liking and subscribing. Huge difference. If you subscribe, hit the bell, click on the all notifications. That helps too. You'll be able to see more of the more danger than you would ever have expected. Don't tell your mother that you're watching Danger. I'm just telling you. But again, really, thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who's in the comments. A lot of really great stuff. Also, I noticed whenever the old Danger makes a mistake, everybody jumps on me. Love it. Absolutely. This is not a place for mistakes. This is live. It's not live TV. It's YouTube. But anyway, whatever the case, love everybody who's been contributing lately. It's been fantastic. A lot of great albums. And really, in my opinion, the best period for popular music ever. So again, thank you to everyone for liking and subscribing. Going on into a second one, I got to talk about my girl Laura Lee here. Laura Lee, of course, on the Invictus label, this would be I Can't Make It Alone. Her last album, of course, on the Invictus label. The Invictus label, of course, would be the offshoot label along with Hot Wax that Holland Dozier Holland, when they left Motown, they weren't getting paid. They basically opened up their own label, and this would be one of the last releases on that label. Unfortunately, didn't sell Butt Kiss because what was happening at the same time as a lot of the corporate distributors were crushing the small labels, and Invictus, Hot Wax ended up being one of those. But Laura Lee, legendary singer. Really only 3 proper albums. Of course, the 2 sides of Laura Lee, which she recorded while she was actually dating Al Green, of all people. And of course, I think it's Women's Love Rights, her first one, which is also a fantastic debut. Then there's also a collection of sides on Cadet / Chess. She did record a little bit in the late 60s, but her real shot at fame would have been in the early 70s with, of course, not this album. Now, this album is a fantastic album, but not really much in the way of singles on this one. The single on this one was, of course, I Need It As Bad As You. I don't know what she needs. I don't know what she's talking about here. But, okay song. But for me, the jam of the album is, of course, We've Come Too Far to Walk Away. Woo! Pedal steel all over that, which you do not hear very often in the soul and R&B arena, but just fantastic playing. But this album in general is really good. She does a cover of Every Little Bit Hurts, and really a fantastic document. Really would end up being her last secular album, as a matter of fact. After this, of course, Invictus folded, and she signed with Areola, and then basically got sick. And basically never really recorded a secular album again. She did some gospel sides later on in her career, but basically this would be the end of Laura Lee in terms of, as a popular soul singer. And wow, if you're gonna go out, you go out on a classic album like this. And obviously, I mean, look at the hair. The hair is rocking. It's amazing. So Laura Lee, I Can't Make It Alone. This one is not easy to find. I've only found this in the bins maybe once or twice. I may have even ordered this actually off of Discogs. Not an easy album to find, but if you do see it, you're gonna get it for 15 or 20 bucks. And again, really good from cover to cover. Really, frankly, this year, 74, I did not have a problem picking soul albums. Well, I had more of a problem that there was too many. For me, rock albums, I had a real difficulty finding underrated ones. But again, for me, this one, it will always be underrated. Laura Lee, hugely underrated singer. But again, must have. I Can't Make It Alone from 74. This one, I know. Some people are going to say, oh, I don't know how underrated this is, Craig. Yes, this is seen basically across the board as Robin Trower, ex of Procol Harum's best album. And you know what? There's a reason for that. It is just plain good. Robin Trower sounds fantastic on it. Of course, he, was the guitarist in Procol Harum until, I believe it was about 71. The album Broken Barricades, of course, which is really one of my favorite Procol Harum albums. The last one that he's on, he kind of rocks it up a little, and then he was gone. And basically, this is the second album. Also, this is from 74, obviously. And Bridge of Sighs, the title track, was kind of the main single on this, but there's also Day of the Eagle, the title track, to Rolling Stone. But you know what? This is really an excellent album. Particularly the James Dewar, the singer slash bassist. Really good rock and sort of soulful rock kind of a voice. It's a shame that really he just was seen kind of as a sideman in the Robin Trower band, because wow, really great voice, really expressive, and like I say, he adds to all of these songs. And again, of course, you get the Trower sort of guitar. Big fan of Hendrix. Also of note is if you do catch some videos, and probably what I will do is I will put a little playlist underneath this video in the description, where if you want to go check out a track from each of these albums, you can do that. I'm making a playlist. But I'll tell you one thing about Trower. The man can play a guitar, but ooh, you want to talk about a man who can do a guitar face. Wah! The guy loves a good guitar face, and sometimes holy crap is that awkward guitar face. I mean, but anyway, like I say, this is seen as his best album, and it's for a reason. This actually did chart in the United States. Actually was a top 10 album, but outside of sort of hard rock and sort of single guitarist loving circles, you don't hear as much about this album, and I really think you should. It is a good one, and yeah, it's highly available. I don't know if you can see this. Pick this big dog up for $3 out of the bins. And you know what? It's worth more than $3. I'm going to go ahead and say, I think they repressed this recently as well, so it is available. Obviously, you can stream this too. But Robin Trower, a bit of a classic from 74, his second LP, and kind of consistently seen as his best. This, of course, would be Bridge of Sighs, another must-have, underrated LP from 1974. And I had a few that I wanted to kind of whip out on you here, but in terms of soul, and this has got a little bit of, as you can see, it's got the shrink still. This was, of course, a re-release that I actually purchased. So I'll try to do my best with the glimmer and the shimmer. But anyway, Tom Brock, I Love You More and More. This, of course, is from 74. Tom Brock, of course, was an associate of who? Barry White. And, of course, they were both on the 20th Century Records label. Tom Brock basically helped produce and write a lot of Barry White songs. And, of course, anyone who was a protege of basically was a protege, but he also helped with anyone who was kind of a protege of Barry at the time. And you know what? This is a fantastic album. This would be Tom Brock's only album, as a matter of fact. And really what shines on this one is the Love Unlimited Orchestra, particularly the drummer. Woo! The drummer is on fire all over this album, and this is sort of like almost a softer soul at times, but wow, that drummer just simply does not stop. And wow, really fantastic record. So this one has Have a Nice Weekend, Baby. The Love We Had was greatest of them all. And of course, There Is Nothing in This World That Can Stop Me From Loving You. Whoa. I mean, I almost feel like Morrison may have heard some of these song titles and been, I also will do 15-word song titles although probably not. I don't think Morrissey was listening to Tom Brock. At any rate, this is, like I say, this is a difficult album to find in original form. You're never going to be able to find it. But you know what? As a re-release, which is how I got it, it is available. I think there's a repress maybe a couple of years ago. But Tom Brock just ripping it all over the album. But again, it's the Love Unlimited Orchestra that absolutely shines on this. The music on this is fantastic. If you're a lover of Barry White, you're definitely going to love this. But even if you're like, Barry White, no, give this a listen. Give this a listen. Very good stuff. A lot of like great quality strings. But again, it's the drums. Woo, fantastic. The hi-hat work on this, absolutely stunning. And Tom Brock, what a quality clutch of songs. This is one of those albums that should have charted, didn't do butt kiss. And really, it is really a shame that Tom Brock is not the name that, of course, the legendary love walrus Barry White is. So from 1974, I Love You More and More, Tom Brock. And we have one more. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this artist. One of my favorites kind of the 70s. One of the certainly white or sort of blue-eyed soul singers that really doesn't get any recognition, certainly in North America. And of course, I do not have a physical copy of this album anymore, and I should. I'm talking about 1974's High Life by Frankie Miller. Now, woo! Frankie Miller, fantastic, I believe Scottish singer, fantastic singer, great songwriter. Ray Charles actually recorded a couple of his songs. Bob Seger actually recorded Ain't Got No Money, which I believe is from his 1975 album. But High Life, this particular album was actually produced by Alan Toussaint. Fantastic. I think it's probably his best album. What's funny about it is, one of the things I didn't notice until today was that if you look at the picture on the album, it does appear as if around Frankie's nose there appears to be some white residue, a la, I don't know, flour, sugar, whatever one might put up one's nose, which I thought was kind of funny. I never even noticed that. I actually had the alternative cover, the United States cover, which, you know, just is kind of like a letter and et cetera, et cetera. But the main cover, of course, is a picture of him with kind of the Miller High Life sort of font. And anyway, fantastic album. A lot of great songs on this one. Even the title track is, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the best under 1 minute song ever made. And unfortunately, on the actual cover, they say that it is a filler. And I'm like, no, that should have been a song, because you hear that song and you're like, oh, I want more. Can't have more. It's under a minute. Then you've got Little Angel, which is just absolutely beautiful. Really great work from Alan Toussaint on sort of the little piano here and there. Absolutely fantastic performances. A lot of these songs, of course, are Alan Toussaint songs. So you have Play Something Sweet, which is, of course, Brickyard Blues, which was covered and a huge hit by the Three Dog Night. Also, you have Shura, who, of course, Betty Wright recorded that and also got a huge hit out of it. For some reason, Frankie Miller just never really had the luck, and it's quite unfortunate because, yeah, like I said, I think he's probably one of the best blue-eyed soul singers ever. But yeah, this album is not an easy one to find in the United States. It is actually very... I ordered this off of Discogs, to be honest. Originally, I ended up giving it away as VCLT to another vinyl community person. But you know what? Still a fantastic album. I'm kind of pissed that I gave it away. I gotta be real. But interesting thing about this album as well is that Alan Toussaint actually did the original mix. What happened is the studio, or the Chrysalis label that he was on and was poorly promoted by, they basically were like, we hate the mix, we want to remix it. And basically Frankie Miller basically disowned the album. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this. That original mix that was sort of Frankie Miller approved didn't really come out until, I think, 2011. He put out a box set with that original mix. I have still not heard that original mix, but again, I kind of would like to, because I just, in my opinion, I think Alan Toussaint is just an amazing producer. That's the same 74. He also produced Nightbirds by LaBelle, which has, of course, the huge hit Lady Marmalade. That is also a legendary album from this year. But again, Frankie Miller, his best album, High Life, fantastic. If you can find this one, absolutely pick it up. Again, he has very sort of a very similar sort of Bob Seger sort of vibe to make that, which makes me wonder, who influenced who here. But the fact is that he's fantastic. Unfortunately, the story of Frankie Miller is not the best. In the 90s, or maybe it was the late 80s, he kind of had a stroke, and unfortunately, he can't play guitar, he can't sing. I'm not sure that he can speak anymore either, but he's still kind of kicking, and there was a lot of really great tributes to him kind of in the early 2000s and around 2010. But as far as I know, he's still out there. Like I say, he doesn't perform anymore, but wow, tragic end to really a phenomenal career. He probably could have continued, in my opinion, much as many sort of soul and rock stars continue. I mean, Rolling Stones, anybody? I mean, what? So anyway, the last, of course, of my 5 must-have underrated LPs. I'm talking about Frankie Miller's High Life from 1974. So again, thank you everybody for sticking around. Wish I had the physical copy of the old Frankie Miller. Probably gonna buy one actually very quickly. I re-listened to this album and damn, is it good. Very good. But anyway, I'm just gonna say to you that, hey, you know what? I guess I'm gonna have to see you on the next one.